Tonight's event, Women Entrepreneurs Dream Big. Do we have some big dreamers in the house? Yes, excellent. Love the hands that go straight up. Who wants to be a big dreamer? Who's not going to put your hand up whatever I ask you? There we go. Excellent. As I said before, my name is Vicky Miller. I am a Kiwi girl, but I've spent a lot of time overseas, which has been wonderful to see what's happening in Australia and the UK and the US in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of creativity. My particular background is musical theatre. I'm a musical theatre producer. I produced my first show back in the 90s and have been doing that ever since. But I'm also a qualified life coach, and I love to coach creatives to help them to reach their dreams. Who knows that you need a bit of organization and a bit of creativity to be an entrepreneur, to do anything in life? Fantastic. Wonderful. We have a great lineup of speakers tonight. A few apologies. Unfortunately, my co-host, Bex Sandys, is unwell today, so isn't able to be with us. So it's just me tonight. And one of our speakers, Chloe Swarbrick, needs to be in Parliament this evening, unfortunately. So she won't be joining us either. But we have 6 other amazing speakers that you'll get to meet during the night. And so my partner in this venture, Shailesh Bagwe, I would love to invite up on stage. So can we give a big round of applause to Shailesh as he comes up?
As we can see today from the speakers, they are coming from different diversity, different cultures, but also different fields. So my idea was to really acknowledge and appreciate all these things that we normally avoid or sidelined when it comes to women. So this is all about today's women entrepreneurs who are making a lot of contribution towards the economy and goes unnoticed. As I always say, that women behind any business, whether they are shareholders, partners, or directors of the company, and companies thrive, companies grow. I have seen, being in the business advisory field, I have seen that women make immense contribution towards the companies that they grow. But when it comes to acknowledgement or appreciation, whether it is awards night or whether it is any function, it's always the men and the companies take the pride and the first. So I wanted to really bring together on one stage everything on platform, on one this, and make sure that we really appreciate and we acknowledge all these things that goes behind the companies to grow. So that's why this event is important for me to organize. And I really appreciate Vicky's help in this. So apart from that, I don't want to say much because it's a woman entrepreneur. And I don't want to say much about it. It's more about women. And I can first thank you very much also the dignitaries and the ministers who are also supporting this initiative. So I really especially like to say and help and acknowledge local MP Michael Wood, who has been always supportive for these kind of initiatives. So he's the only man in this.
In the lineup.
And of course, we have got some great experts, ministers as well, and speakers. So Dr. Deborah Russell is not an unknown figure, and who is making immense contribution towards the tax, which is also my subject. So I love that she has made immense contribution towards the tax working group and other future that she is going to contribute anyway. So, and then we have got some great speakers, and also another MP I would like to acknowledge, Agnes Loheni.
Yes.
She is the first MP of Pacifica, I guess, if I'm not wrong. Am I right or wrong? Yes, that's right. So at least we are acknowledging that after so many years. So that's I want to acknowledge. And then we have got a good speaker also, Jackie Curry and Bronnie Jacobson as well in the mix. So it's unfortunate that we could not have Chloe today. But I guess from my point of view, I can only say that we need more and more support from these people and these business leaders and MPs and ministers and government to make a real difference.
And we also have Jessica Tyson
Yes,
as part
and
of our lineup as well.
I could not forget Jessica Tyson because that's a big no. That is the wrong one. Jessica Tyson goes back. She's absolutely a wonderful woman and person in person, and she has achieved a lot in this time of frame that she has. And I really wanted to have a mix of our diversity, as Michael always tells me. We are the most diverse, and Mount Roskill is the most diverse city, but we can see today also that Maoris, Pacificas, ethnic groups, when they come on one platform, it's really brilliant to have that kind of platform.
We have a special gift for our speakers tonight. So Elaine, if you wouldn't mind handing out the gift bags to each of our speakers there.
Yes.
If we could give them a round of applause.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Deborah, Michael, Agnes, Bronnie, Jessica, and beautiful. Thank you very much. We have some wonderful sponsors to acknowledge tonight.
Yes.
Forever Shine, whose wonderful leader Renita is also unwell tonight and wasn't able to be with us, but
Yes,
she has helped us
unfortunately.
with some of the sponsorship tonight.
Yes.
Shailesh represents his company Seagold Solutions and the South Pacific Business Forum. So Shailesh has his fingers in many pies, not just the Women Entrepreneurs group. Myself is Creatives on Purpose, helping creative people to reach their dreams through personal development. Manasi, where's Manasi? Manasi has done our marketing and promotions for us. She represents Kaviti, digital marketing, website development. And so these are our major sponsors for the evening. Maybe we could mention some of our other sponsors later and get underway.
And we always have Guru Travels, which is run by Kishore. And me and him started this first forum last year. And it was really a good stepping stone to start this, which he supported me very well. But also there are other legal aids who has now going to continue to support these kind of forums, the Q&As, and make a difference, really speaking, in terms of our events. So our events are not flashy, nor any this, but they are definitely going to be meaningful and make definitely a difference. That's what we hope, and you will take it from today's event. That's, I would say, also there are some good participants and voluntary, there's a lot of work has gone behind. So before I forget, I would like to acknowledge everyone that has participated to make this event happen. We will do a proper thank you anyway afterwards, I think, Vicky.
Yes,
So,
lovely.
Yeah, so without further actually delaying, I would like to start this, and I would like to hand over and take the control by Vicky Miller, who is definitely going to be more creative.
Thank you, Shailesh. Wonderful. As Shailesh said, let's get underway with our very first speaker of the evening, which is Dr. Deborah Russell. And if you would like to come up, Dr. Deb, the stage will be yours. Let's give her a hand as she comes up this evening.
I'm delighted to be here. And I'm going to cut straight to the chase with the message I have for you tonight. Tax is your friend. Tax is your friend because it pays for many of the things we like: health, education, welfare, roads, courts, housing, all the things that are the hallmarks of a civilized society. But actually, tax is your friend because all of those things are of great benefit to entrepreneurs. The health system means that if you become ill, you can recover. And it keeps your employees healthy too, all right? The education system matters because that's where you get your workers from, the people with skills who can work for you in your business, the people with skills who can earn incomes of their own and who are able to purchase the products and services that you supply. The welfare system matters because if it all goes belly up, then actually there is a fallback for you. You can afford to take risks because even though it won't be pretty if you end up on welfare, at least you will manage. And it's a backup too for your employees. Working for families means that you can actually pay lower wages than you might otherwise have to do, and that helps many entrepreneurs get going. The roads are important because that's how you move your product. The courts are important, so that's how you solve disputes. Housing is important. If your employees have a secure, safe place to live, then they will work much better for you because they're not worried about having a roof over their heads. So those are some of the many reasons why tax is your friend, because of all the benefits it brings. But I also want to talk about why tax is your friend because of how it actually benefits you in the running of your business. And to start thinking about this, I sort of thought, well, I'm talking to businesswomen tonight, and a lot of businesswomen start out running a business from their home, perhaps when they have small children at home. There's a term for it, mumpreneurs. But as it turns out, most mumpreneurs don't like that term. But I had a bit of a dig around and I came up with some research. Some work that had been done by Muhammad Saud Khan at the Victoria University of Wellington and Chelsea Rowlands, who I think must have been one of his students, published just last year, and about some of the issues that mumpreneurs face, their key challenges. Time, how to get their business to grow, finance, stigma, and family balance. The stigma one is with women who are running a small business from home being told that they're not really in business, they're not really at work, and they're not really at home. Well, that's disappointing, isn't it? Some of the research that they report, they said, well, actually, most mumpreneurs don't like the term. And I can tell you, when I was preparing for this, I went and talked to two businesswomen in my electorate. And neither of them liked the term either. But they had some interesting things to say. So Catherine Watson is a graphic designer. She's got a couple of primary school-aged children. And tax is her friend. And it goes to this thing around stigma. Catherine has a very small business, a micro business. And at this stage, her turnover is below the GST registration threshold. She doesn't have to be GST registered. But she has chosen to be GST registered. She's a graphic designer, so she's selling to other businesses, and of course they like to be able to claim the GST back. But importantly, it removed some of the stigma. Of course she's properly in business, she has a GST number. So that's a very simple piece of advice for people who are getting involved in starting up their own business, for the mumpreneurs who are getting going. Get that GST registration. Yeah. Tax is your friend because it indicates that you are serious about what you're doing. And Catherine said it also meant that she priced her services properly. She had to think about the tax component, think about what the value of the service was, add the GST in and charge it properly. So she valued her own work, and that's turned out to be brilliant in the longer term. She's now looking to expand because she can, because she's taken herself seriously right from the start. The other mumpreneur I spoke to absolutely loathes that term. She's Louise Tangwai, and Louise runs a really successful business called The Sleep Store in New Lynn. She started it up out of her backyard at home when after her second child was born. She thought there was a market for providing really good sleep products and really good free advice for young mums, for new mums with their babies. She was right. That business has grown and grown. Her husband works at it now, and they've moved out of the home and into their own site on Portage Road in Levin. Louise had some advice. She said, make sure when you're starting up your business, you have a good relationship with your bank manager. And her bank manager told her two really important things. And quote, Have a separate bank account for your tax and be religious about putting this aside automatically. As you earn each piece of income, as you get each piece of revenue in the door, put a bit of it aside for tax, because you will need to pay your tax bill. And once you start putting that bit aside for tax, you start planning carefully around your finance. That's another way that tax is your friend. Another piece of advice from Louise was, actually, the staff from IRD and Customs gave her some great advice. She could ring up and ask for help and advice, and they were brilliant. They actually wanted her to succeed. So the IRD and Customs were there to help, not just to take the tax. And Louise said, once you're planning for tax, you are planning for your cash flow. And cash is king with a small business. You need that money in and out. So if you're planning for your tax, you're looking at your cash flows, you're working out how to get more on the door, you're working out when you need to send it out. It's really important that way. And so from there, I have a piece of advice of my own. Your grown-ups, your business women, get familiar with tax. Just the basics. When it's due, about how much it is, when you need to make the payments. If you're going to run a successful business, that's something that you need to do. And if you can understand those cash flows and understand the way that you are actually making money and how much tax you will have to pay, even just as a rule of thumb, you understand your business, and that's when you will grow. The final reason why tax is your friend, every time you pay some tax, you need to remember that if you're paying tax, you're doing well. Something good has happened. You've earned some income. You've earned enough income that you have to pay tax. And that is why, and I hope you'll do this too, I smile when I pay my taxes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Deb. Tax time is fun time. I love that, and I've certainly found that in my business as well. As soon as I got into the habit of putting my tax aside, it actually took a lot of pressure and stress off me in the midst of my business. So thank you so much. That was really, really helpful. Jackie Curry, who's trying to be unobtrusive in the corner, is our wonderful next speaker. I'll let Jackie tell you a little bit about herself, but it's been lovely to get to know Jackie, and she is the founder and head of the Samoa Business Network, among other things that she does. So Jackie, you're very welcome to come up and speak to us. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Talofa lava, everyone. Tino koto katoa. And hello. First of all, just want to acknowledge the organizers of this event. Vicky, who's been very busy in the background putting this all together with her team, and obviously a few other businesses. And also Seagold Solutions, who's driving this new forum. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and just share a little bit about what I do, and hopefully leave you guys with something to take away with, especially the women in the room. Okay, so just wanted to very quickly, I put all this up because I might not say it all, but this is just a little bit about who I am. Originally from Samoa, very proud to be raised in the islands. I'm an island girl at heart. I descend from a prominent business family in Samoa, the Curry family, and also, I haven't put it up there, but my mother's family is our Chong family. And let's just say it's generations of business. So I literally live, breathe business from when I was born. So very blessed to have grown up in family businesses. And that's where I guess I got my passion for business. My village affiliations, for those that might be here in the room that are Samoan or Pacific Island, proud Fasitotai, Le Whanga, Le Awa'a, and Sa'afotu and Sava'i. Also proud to carry a chiefly name, Afamasanga, from my grandmother's village. And I've basically been floating in between New Zealand, or Aotearoa, and Samoa my whole life. That's why I got 39 years up there. 2 beautiful children, I'm the director of Specific Consultancy Limited, and that business has been emerging and changing over the last, I think I set it up 2010. Started in training and education, went into digital marketing, and now general consultancy. And yeah, that's just a little bit their background with the different industries or areas I've been working in, my qualifications, and yeah, some of the cool stuff I'm doing now. I'm involved in a business research project for MB. Also back to school, studying, in the Masters of, sorry, I should say business, not commerce. I'm also a coach in training, RISE 2025, which is an Indigenous women's program. I'm really proud of that. And of course, I'm a mum, I'm a daughter, I'm a granddaughter, I'm a sister, a friend, and a business colleague. So, you know, and that's really, I wanted to make that point, because that's who we are as women, right? It's not like go to work or run a business and separate everything. It's all one big, lovely, yeah, mess sometimes, but it works. It's like organized chaos, as you know. So basically the theme, dream big. So women entrepreneurs. I'm very blessed to have worked with, in the different areas I've worked in, I always enjoy the most working with women. It's so much fun, to be honest. Men, they can get a little bit serious, a little bit competitive. Whereas women, we just love hanging out, and if we get to do business, then cool. If we walk away without a business deal, we've made a friend. So, so I wanted to touch on the strengths of women in general, especially those of you that might be in the startup phase. Basically, our strengths is we have dreams and aspirations for our family, our children, and our community. We want to make an impact on the world. We love socializing. We love having relationships and connections. We love dressing up and looking beautiful. And we love to promote, encourage, and cheer on our friends. Okay? And some of our weaknesses, not for all, but for some, for a lot of women, especially, I must say, in the area I work in, Pacific Island women, I find that promoting and celebrating self, that's very hard. Easy to cheer on your mates and share their posts on Facebook, but when it comes to you, you're like, oh, do I really want to put myself out there? So putting oneself out there, talking about yourself in public, saying, I do this and I do that and I'm so awesome. And a tendency to worry about what will people say, what will they think. In particular, Pacific Island women, sometimes it's not about your professional circles, but a lot of time it's about your community, your family, because we come from huge families. And also, I find that for some women, they have these dreams and this purpose that's inside them, but they sometimes feel a bit selfish, especially mums. And I'm glad that Dr. Deborah Russell brought up mums at home running businesses, because the reason they're doing that is for their children, to earn an income so they can stay home, run the kids around to school, etc. So having their own dream and purpose to just do what they want to do, because that's what they want to do, nothing to do with the kids, hubby, family, that can be a bit of a challenge. So the reason I touch on those strengths and weaknesses is because of the topic for tonight that I'm going to talk about is networking, promotion, and connections, which I believe women have in them already. They know how to do it. They've been doing it their whole lives. It's just how do you apply that to business? Okay, so I've been a trainer, teacher like most of my career, so I love drawing on the whiteboard. Unfortunately, there was no whiteboard tonight. So there you go. I've drawn a little diagram which represents what I want to talk about tonight, which is pulling all these three things together: networking, promotion, and connections. So I'll go through each of them quickly because I know I only have limited time. So networking is basically meeting people. That's why we're here tonight, to meet people, especially new people, or maybe people you know, in a friendly way, family way, but maybe you don't know what they do in a business way. So that involves events, group business meetings, conferences, and presentations. Now, I've got a whole lot of photos right throughout the presentation, and the reason for that is because this is live, basically me out there doing all of these different things. And yeah, basically these two photos here, I was at the World Indigenous Business Conference last year. These are all new connections. I met most of these people at that conference and walked away with a whole bunch of new friends. And then here, this is, so I failed to mention before, I also have been heavily involved in the Samoa Business Network, but Vicky brought it up. So we have a branch in Samoa and here, so we do networking between Samoa and New Zealand. So that's us on a business trip last year, meeting with the CEO of a very successful company. Her name is Fiti Lengwai. She's in the middle there, and this is us taking all of our business colleagues so that they could connect with her. And I guess get some inspiration from her as well. So that's basically an example of networking. And what I really want to show in these photos is basically all the photos. Everyone's having fun, enjoying. Remember I said before, dressing up, looking pretty, which is what women do naturally anyway. So promotion, and I guess for a lot of, I've been in my background originally is in marketing. Everyone always wants to know, well, what should I do? Should I be on this platform or that platform? Should I have a website, not have a website? Should I have brochures? It really depends on your business. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that the main thing with promotion and promotion, first of all, is branding and messaging, which I've put up here. In order to get yourself out there, you must have a brand, which includes a logo, but it also includes your personal brand, which is you as a professional person, which, as I was mentioning before, can be quite challenging for women to, again, put themselves out there. Messaging is being really clear. So rather than just doing a whole bunch of random posts, no matter what platform it is, you need to have a message. Your client, the people following you, they may not clearly know what your message is, but that's what you're doing over the platforms, is you're delivering a message, bit by bit, every post. So you need to have, I guess, a strategy or a plan on what is it that you actually want to communicate to people. And then all of your posts will fall out of that message. So, of course, we know there is now social media, which is great for small businesses. I've just put some examples up here of my LinkedIn page. This is an example of an event for Samoa Business Network that we ran recently. And of course, every time you run an event or have any type of promotion, you need to make sure that you're posting photos. I tend to organize them in albums because they're a lot easier to find, and also when people come back to your page later on, it's easy to have them all grouped in one page. So that's just a small tip. And of course, there's still traditional marketing methods that apply depending on the type of business you're in. But at the minimum, business cards are key. You never know when you're going to bump into someone that could be a potential business connection. For myself, especially coming from an island like Samoa, that can happen at the supermarket, dropping off your washing or whatever. So it's always good to have those handy. I also find that what I'm doing more lately is I connect to people straight away on social media if I can, when I meet them. Yeah, because that's how you also grow your network and your following. And of course, word of mouth. And the only way you can get word of mouth, of course, is by delivering a great product or service. So that links directly to your product or service, and referrals, the best marketing of all. That's most business deals you'll find that you convert will come from referrals, especially in a service-based business. Okay, so the final of these main points is connections. So once you've done the networking, gone and met some cool people, made some new friends, colleagues, possibly business connections, you've promoted yourself, and remember, this also needs to be in place preferably before you do that, but not necessarily. Sometimes you can go out and network just to do your market research first and then set up your promotions. But at the end of the day, I'll put in the middle here, of course, you're in business. You need to make money in order to run a business. So at the end of the day, your outcome is going to be business deals, partnerships, and sales. And again, depending on whether you have a product business or a service business. So this is bringing it all together. So the final step, of course, is connections, which is basically relation. That's when you're really building a genuine relationship. So one thing I will say is that for most people, you go to a networking event, you don't normally do a business deal right there and then. It's a connection which can lead to business. So it's very important to note that, because some people get discouraged and they go, so many business networking events, and I haven't generated any business. And the reason why is maybe you haven't followed through into the connection part. So what is connection? This is when you meet up with people after the networking event or after they've found you online. A one-on-one business-focused meeting, and I say business-focused because I have lots of girlfriends that are in business, and sometimes we can have a business meeting and we end up just talking about our kids and, you know, what's going on, and oops, oh my gosh, we've got to go, and we haven't even talked business. So that's another thing as women. I find that I really have to switch that part of my brain out of the socializing and really be driven to focus on business. And I'm just laughing because my cousin Natalia's here. Hi, Natalia. If I could just... Sorry to put you on the spot, cuz she's really bubbly. You should go meet her after. But yeah, so my cousin Natalia and I, so she always says to me when we go to business meetings, gosh, it's so serious, you know. And I'm like, cuz we're here, we gotta like meet an outcome, because she's the most sociable person that I know. So it's like, yeah, knowing how to, I guess, you know, you got a limited time, this person's giving you their time. So how can you, of course you have to have the socializing, building rapport part. But yes, of course, we also need to get to the business part of the conversation. So it's very important. So this can be achieved through meetings, obviously, emails, messages, online meetings. Zoom is great. I use Zoom all the time, and it totally saves on travel time. And you can sit there with your cup of coffee as if you're together. I also find Zoom effective because you can share documents. And, you know, it's a lot more formal than, say, Messenger. Of course, coffee dates is when you're just building a relationship, maybe not necessarily talking about business yet. And I said meeting at a supermarket, LOL, because you never know. That could be where a business deal is done. And the focus is building a relationship. You may not do business straight away, but you never know when that is going to convert, because it's all about when the client or customer needs your service or product. So don't always be disheartened when you don't convert straight away. But this is the key, building that rapport and relationship. And then finally, of course, leading to an outcome, which is a sale, signing up a new client, or another type of business relationship, say like a supplier relationship or something like that, or someone to maybe distribute your products. So all these lovely photos, I just wanted to kind of finish off on the note that doing business, all of this stuff, is the fun part of business. I know we're talking about tax before, and ooh, which I must mention my parents are also in the room. My mum and dad, and my mum's an accountant, so yep, she's totally on board with the paying tax stuff, and that's her job, making sure clients pay tax. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, there's so many different parts to your business, but this is the part that you can really have a lot of fun. So all of the photos I'm going to show you, these are all very close business relationships that I now have. Yeah, so this is a group of ladies I just did the brides program with. Going for the walk with my good friend up the Maunga in Tauranga with my business colleague Alex. That's down there, Georgina Bonin. She's one of the directors of UN. And then these are all of these people I've basically done business with. So I just wanted to show, it's just the same as photos of your friends and family. Yeah, you're hanging out, having fun, looking, if you're at an event, you're looking good, which, is like going to a party. So yeah, just wanted to leave it on that note. to say that doing all these things is fun. So yes. So thank you very much, Vicky, and I hope that was useful to those in the room. Whaftai te re lava.
Thank you. This is what it's about. We meet people and we connect with them, and that's how we do business. Let's give Jackie a hand. Thank you so much. That was great. I love that. Which women here are up for a chat? We like our chat time. We like getting together for coffee. As I said, Shailesh and I had coffee after an event we met at, and this is why we're here tonight. So we're a living testament to this happens. And often it happens without us realizing. Suddenly we're doing business together and we thought we were just making a friend. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Jackie. And now I'd love to welcome up Michael Wood to talk to us about his particular area of specialty as well. So let's give Michael a hand as he comes.
Kia ora, kia rana, talofa lava, malola lei, nisa bula vanaka, whakalofa lahi atu, namaste, vanakum, sat sri akal, ni hao, anyang haseo, shalom, and for our Muslim brothers and sisters in the room, a very happy Ramadan Mubarak to you this evening. I'm so pleased to be here tonight, and you might have noticed that I'm the token bloke on the stage today. I feel just like a piece of meat, really. It reminds me a little bit about 10 years ago. I was the main caregiver for, at that stage, our two young children, and I got involved in my local Plunket sub-branch just here in, it was the Linfield Roskell Plunket sub-branch, and I became the chairperson of that Plunket sub-branch, and then I put my hand up to go to the Plunket conference in Rotorua that year, and I thought, oh, this will be really good, and I turned up. They've got a big conference centre behind the bathhouse at Rotorua that some of you might have been to before, and I walked into it, and I was a little bit late getting there, and I looked around, and there were 800 women and me. I later found one guy. He disappeared on the first night, and it was the most fun, interesting, and terrifying weekend of my life. But I'm so thrilled to be here with you this evening, and really happy that you could have this event here in Mount Roskell. One of the things that Shailesh said before that we're really proud of in this community is that we are the most diverse community in all of New Zealand. Within a 5-kilometre radius of this point here, there are over 150 different cultures, ethnicities, and languages. And one of the things that I really firmly believe about New Zealand in 2019 is that we just have this incredible potential in our country, because we're no longer the country we were, 50, 60 years ago, where a bunch of guys like me, but perhaps a little bit older, sat round in circles and at tables and in smoky rooms and made all of the decisions. We've got people from a huge range of backgrounds, men and women, people of different faiths and cultures and languages and perspectives, who can all contribute to making this a good, prosperous, fair place to live for all of our people. And of course, you are playing a really important part of that. I want to speak about a couple of things tonight. I want to give a few pointers and tips about some of the little things that government is trying to do to provide support and useful advice to people who are starting off in business. And I want to talk a little bit about why I think what you are doing is just so really important. And I want to start with some of the good things. The first thing is that here in New Zealand, we are ranked as the #1 place in the world by the World Bank for ease of doing business. And I know it might not always feel that way. And that's not to say that it is easy, because I'm sure that a lot of days it's really tough going. You have setbacks and challenges and frustrations. And one of the reasons you're here is because you've kept pushing through those things. But compared to virtually every other country in the World Bank says that New Zealand is actually one of the easiest places, particularly to set up and get a business going. And some of that is stuff that we take for granted. We have a functional justice system. So if there's a dispute, you've got a fair way of getting a resolution. We have very little corruption in New Zealand, so you don't have to bribe officials to get a process through the system. And sometimes I speak to people in New Zealand who, that's a really big deal, given the countries that they have come from. We have a relatively efficient tax system. We actually have really, really good IT infrastructure in this country. The broadband that we have in New Zealand that's rolling out across the country is now some of the best in the world, and that's going to be hugely beneficial to businesses. As Deborah said, we have a great education system, and we are one of the most globally networked trading countries in the world. So if you're in a business that's looking to get out there and export goods and services, we have some of the best trade relationships with huge economies like China, for example, where we've got great access into those markets. So there's a lot of good things that can be a platform for us to grow great businesses here in New Zealand. I want to rip through a few of the little initiatives that government is trying to bring to bear just to make things a bit easier and help to support businesses to grow and prosper and get off the ground. One place that's really good to go to if you haven't had a look already is business.govt.nz. This is the website that the government has set up to kind of bring together all of the tools and useful information that might help you, particularly if you're in the early stages of setting up a business. They've got things there, for example, like a tool that gives you advice about the type of business structure that will be useful for you, and that's really important in the early days of setting up a business. If you're at the stage where you're beginning to employ people, that can be a little bit scary because you want to do the right thing because you're all good people, and you also don't want to end up in the Employment Relations Authority. So they've got a tool on that website that will help you to set up appropriate and lawful employment agreements with your employees. If you're getting to the stage where you need to set up policies and procedures within your businesses, perhaps you've grown a little bit, you've now got some staff, you're having to anticipate things that might happen and how you'll deal with them, they've got a tool and templates for establishing those policies and procedures in your business. So some really useful information on business.govt.nz. Number 2, the New Zealand business number. Is this something that anyone's familiar with here? A few of you have? Yeah, so this is a unique number that you can get for your business that's designed to pretty much follow you through. And so when you're dealing with government departments or with other businesses, your unique New Zealand business number will mean that they can more quickly identify exactly who you are and what the past dealings you might have had with them are. So it's a little tool just to help streamline some of those dealings. And there are some really good things that we're beginning to build off it. So e-invoicing is something that some of you will be engaged in. The government's currently doing a lot of work with Australia and other countries that we deal with so that you as a business can engage in e-invoicing with other businesses, not just here in New Zealand, but in Australia and other countries as well. And that has huge efficiencies for your business if we get that going. We've set up a small business council. This is led by a guy called Tenby Powell, who's kind of one of those serial entrepreneurs. He's a guy who looks out for great businesses, invests in them, helps to get them off the ground, and supports them along the way. He's now leading a group of people who have got experience in small business to give the government advice about trying to set up policies that will be supportive of what you are doing. The Ice House. The Ice House, has anyone heard of this? Yeah. Some of you have. Fantastic business incubator, partnership between New Zealand Government, Callaghan Innovation, a number of corporates like Xero and Auckland University, and they're a hub that can support businesses that are growing, that need a bit of expert advice or input to get off the ground and grow to the next level. If you're in a business that's in that space, they're a really great place to look to for some advice and support. Really easy to find on the internet, the Ice House. Final thing I want to mention is something that's just come in this week actually through the Parliament, and that's the Research and Development Tax Credit. If you're in a business where you're in this area of research and development, you're trying to resolve technical or scientific problems, you're investing in research and development, which has really big benefits for our economy, there's now a 15% tax credit that can apply to you for that work, and that's going to be kicking in. Deborah Russell can help me with the date when it's being implemented from. 1st of April, Research and Development Tax Credit. It's pretty much already in. That's right. So that can be a really great tool for some businesses that are getting involved in R&D. So that's just a bit of a run through about some useful things that we're trying to do as government to better support what you're doing as entrepreneurs and business people. Final thing I just want to end on is just a few thoughts about why what I think you are doing as business people, as entrepreneurs, is so important. I really believe that in this country we've got to work together. We all need to work together and contribute if we want to make this a good country for all of our people. Yeah. We need people in the public services, we need teachers, and we need nurses, and we need social workers to do all of those really important things that build up the strength of our country. We need people who are workers, who go to work in factories and shops and offices to give their labour and to get things done. And I'm a Labour politician. Those people need to be treated fairly and paid well and be given dignity in what they do. But boy, do we need you guys as well with all of your fantastic ideas and your passion and your risk-taking. I spoke to about 4 or 5 of you just as we were having a bite to eat at the beginning of this, and I said to each of you, how did you get started and what you're doing? And I think every single one of you used the word, I had this little dream. And so you're the people who have a little dream, but you don't just leave it there. You then say, take it to the next step and you say, well, how am I going to make that a reality? And that's really, really special. That's how we change things and get things done and grow things. So I just really encourage you just to not, and I know there's a grind to what we do sometimes in all of our jobs, but never to lose sight of that. 40 years ago, we were one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And over the last 40 years, we've actually slipped away compared to a lot of other countries. In my view, we've become too reliant on turning grass into milk and cheese and meat, protein. It's a big part of our economy and our growth, but it actually doesn't deliver the high incomes and high wealth that we want for our kids and our grandkids. It's the stuff that you guys do, developing new business ideas that will actually help to get us there. So keep dreaming, and we hope to be there to help and support you along the way. Cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Actually, Michael, I'll get you to stay up here for the moment. We're going to have a little bit of a Q&A now. So I'd like to invite Jackie Curry and Dr. Deborah Russell to come and join us on the stage as well. Maybe if we pop to the side so that people can see us around here. But so just while they're coming up to the stage, have a think about if there are questions that you would particularly like to ask one of these amazing people. I actually might give you the wireless mic. And here we go. And I'll have this one over here. I think we've got enough. So are there some questions in the room for our 3 speakers so far? Don't be shy, because what happens is no one puts their hands up and then later everyone does and misses out. So who has a question that they would like to ask of one of our speakers, maybe on tax or networking and promotion, or on the government support that's available? Oh, there we go. I'll kick things off then. So, Michael, you mentioned that there's a website. It was business.gov.org. Did I get that right?
Yep. .govt.nz.
.govt.nz. There we go. That's better. So, where would you recommend someone starts on their journey to find some information about what kind of business that they would like to be exploring?
Well, my own business experience was far less organised than what I'm about to recommend. My first little business venture was when I was starting out at university, and a couple of friends and I thought, oh, gee, how are we going to pay for these fees? And so we set up a small business writing and selling revision guides for students doing 7th form, what's now called Year 13, in art history and physics, which are topics we knew about, and that's how we we got the money to get through university. We just kind of winged it. Since then, I've learned a few things, and I'm a great believer in planning. I really do. So I think as early as possible, get the information, find out what support is available. You might save yourself a lot of time and energy and frustration if you get that information right at the outset. So I'd say plan early, get that information when you're coming up with an idea.
Excellent. And I think one thing that tonight is highlighting is that our members of parliament and our people in government, they want to help us. They're not just sort of in their office doing things that are more important than what our lives are. And part of what we want to do at these events is to make these amazing people available to you to ask our questions, so that it's not them and us, it's all of us together building New Zealand business. Any other questions from the floor? Oh, yes. One sec. There we go. Yes.
Okay. Hi, Deborah. Just a question. You just mentioned the the stuff that they can help the business people to do, the tax, GST. So how can we get support from them?
Okay. What you can do is you can ring up and ask processing questions and the like. When your GST returns are due, they'll answer one-off questions. But something you need to realise is that New Zealand is a self-assessment system. that is the legal obligation is on you to self-assess your own taxes and pay them over to government. That's often a surprise to people because, the way most people pay tax is they pay it through their PAYE. And if you're a wage and salary earner and you suddenly find out you've been self-assessing all along, okay. So what they'll do is they'll ring up, they won't replace a tax advisor and they won't replace a bookkeeper and they won't replace an accountant. You're supposed to get those experts on board yourself, but you can always ring up and ask the initial questions and they will answer them as best they can.
That's lovely. Thank you. Elaine down the front had a question as well. Oh, down the front row.
Yeah, that's right. So the system of tax credits is effectively where you're in a situation where you have tax to pay. A tax credit is something that you effectively, to simplify it, get back as measured against the tax that you have to pay. One of the examples you'll be probably most familiar with, although you probably don't think of it as a tax credit, we have working for families in New Zealand. And there might be some people here who at times have received working for families payments if you have children. They're actually a tax credit against the tax that you pay. Same with research and development tax credit. So if you were in a business and it spent $100,000 of eligible research and development expenditure, you can claim back tax against that expenditure. So it has to be specifically related to that research and development expenditure, and then you get the credit back. So it's just kind of a little way of saying this work is really, really valuable and it has benefits across our wider economy. So we're going to recognise that and encourage you to be expending in that area. Deborah, is there anything you'd like to add to that to crystallise my explanation?
It was an excellent explanation. There's just another little wrinkle. So you spent some money on research and development, you'll probably get a tax deduction for that, and the tax credit is extra on top of that. All right? So it's like getting the tax deduction plus a little bit more, so it reduces your tax. Yeah.
Sorry, the other thing about that is sometimes businesses which are getting started up, you don't make a profit initially. You might have a year or two or three or a bit longer where you're not actually paying tax, so a tax credit wouldn't usually apply. In this particular case, in the first year we've allowed a provision whereby you can cash out your tax credit and just get it straight back even if you're not making a profit.
Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Thank you for those policies. That's wonderful. Yeah, oh, some more questions over here.
Sorry, I just wanted to go off the back of that one about the research and development credit. Is there time frames within a business when you're eligible for that? For example, I'm sort of in the first year of my business and probably going to look into this tomorrow, but 3-4 years down the track, if I want to conduct some additional research, can I sort of then apply for that credit at that point as well?
Yes, you can. Look, there is a minimum spend. You've got to spend $50,000 on R&D, on eligible R&D. But to be honest, if you're doing serious R&D, you're probably spending that kind of money anyway. Yep.
That's a really good question. I think the answer at this stage is yes. We have this process, we have this agreement with Australia called Closer Economic Relations. It was signed way back in the 1980s. And one of the things that we try to do government to government in the years since then is to try and harmonise our business to business and government to business relationships across the Tasman as much as possible. And so every year, government ministers and business leaders get together to try and smooth over that stuff. But at this stage, and I've got some nods and yeses in the audience, I'm pretty sure that the answer is you do have to have both at this point. That might be one of the things that in the future would be really good to try and get harmonised to simplify as much as possible. But these things do tend to take a while with our Australian cousins. Yes. Yes, you do. And this is a really challenging area. We have tax treaties with countries like Australia, most of the countries that you're probably going to be dealing with, but not all of them, that try and sort of navigate the way through having to deal with two different tax systems. But the advice always is if you're having dealings with another tax jurisdiction, do get some professional advice on that, because it will depend on the particular nature of the relationship that you're having in that country, but you probably will have to juggle with both tax systems. Again, Deborah, I don't know if there's anything you'd want to add to that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. We'll wrap up the questions at the moment. We'll have some more time for that later. But we're going to take a short break now and come back at 8:10 so you can meet some people. Anything that wasn't answered for you, this great thing called Google that you can look stuff up and find out hopefully some of the answers to what you need. But isn't it great to let's thank our 3 guests that we've had so far, and we'll see you back at 8:10. Thank you so much.